Hi, I'm Emily. Welcome to episode 9 of Holding the Sticks, a hockey-themed fiber arts podcast. Hi everyone, welcome to my craft room here in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. My name is Emily, and you can find me as Shanti Dragon on Ravelry and as Emily3022 on Plurk and Twitter. Thought you would like to know what the 3022 stands for today. I'd never thought about letting you guys know what that signifies, and 30 and 22 are the jersey numbers of my two favorite hockey players, and 30 is for Cam Ward, the goalie for the Carolina Hurricanes, and 22 is for Zach Dalby, who I've talked about before on the podcast, and he wears number 19 when he's with the Checkers, and he wears 22 when he's with the Hurricanes. So now you know. Just a few administrative things today. Of course, I always have thank yous. First of all, I always want to thank everyone for watching and for participating on the Ravelry group. I want to thank those who have interacted with me on social media, Plurk and Twitter. It's always so much fun to connect with everybody, and I really appreciate that y'all take the time out to let me know you're enjoying the show. It means a lot to me to know that there are people watching and enjoying, so I really appreciate it. I also want to thank Vicky, who is Dragonfly7673 on Ravelry. She hosts the Dragonfly Soars podcast, and she mentioned me in her last episode, and I appreciate that, Vicky. Thank you. It's a fun little show to watch. If you are interested in watching another podcast, go check her out on Dragonfly Soars. I want everybody to know that they can contact me anytime they would like to give me suggestions on what they would like to see on this show. So you can do that on the Ravelry group, on my email, which will show in the credits at the end of the show, on Plurk or Ravelry. I already said Ravelry. On Plurk or Twitter. You can contact me all of those places. And I would love to know if there is something you would like to see in the show that I am not addressing already. So would love to hear from you. Just a little bit of show related things. I'm adding 2 segments today. Last week I talked in Hockey 101 about the format of a hockey game, and as you know, there are 2 intermissions in a hockey game, so I'm adding 2 intermissions to the show. The first intermission will be for craft-alongs that I'm hosting, or maybe if I'm not hosting one, I'll talk about ones that I'm participating in. I'm going to call that intermission a rec league. A rec league is a recreational league for hockey, and that's where just everyday people can play hockey together. So I thought that would be a neat name for the craft along segment. And the second intermission will be called Around the League. If you ever watch a hockey game, they usually have a segment during one of the intermissions where they talk about the scores around the league. And this will be about podcasts that I'm watching or listening to, or even TV shows or movies or that sort of thing. So just a sort of watching, listening segments. And those will be pretty short little segments. I am going to try to keep the podcast to a little bit of a shorter time period. We'll see how that works out. Just to keep things more manageable for me in the upload and editing, and also to help y'all with, I know you have a lot of stuff going on in your lives too, where you may not want to sit for an hour and listen to me blabber. So we'll see how that works out today. I'm not going to stress out too much about it, but I am going to try and keep things a little bit shorter. So with that, let us get right into the first period, shall we? Okay, let's get right into some first period action here. We are in the zone with some developing play. I'm going to show you the projects that I have in progress right now on my needles. we're going to start out with Mork, and y'all have seen this before. It is a sweater designed by Julia Farwell Clay, and it will look like this when it's finished. And I have finally finished the back. Now I'm using Barocco Ultra Alpaca in the Redwood colorway, or Redwood Mix colorway, and that is color number 6281. So here is the back finally finished. Lift it up so you can see. And I know I mentioned last week that I was concerned about the fit, and I've held it up to myself in front of the mirror as well as you can, you know, when you just have the back of the sweater. And I think it's going to fit okay. I think it's going to be just about the right length, and with a little bit of blocking, I think it will fit just about perfectly. Here's hoping. It's hard to tell when you're not knitting the sweater in the round and you're doing it in pieces. So I just have to hold on until I finish the front of it as well, so I can kind of pin them together and see how it'll fit. So I just love those little cables in there. The main reason that I decided I wanted to learn how to knit after years of crocheting was that I love the look of cables so much. So I do knit quite a bit of projects, quite a few projects with cables in them. I finished the back. I have started the front. This is my hockey knitting now because it's just ribbing up until you get about 90 some rows in. So here's the front now. If I can get it straightened out for you here. It looks the same as the back did when I first started, so no big exciting thing there. So Mork is going along nicely. I hope I'll be able to get most of the way through the front this week. Maybe even finish it, but that might be a little bit too optimistic to think I might be able to do that. I can always try though, right? So that is Mork, using US size 6 4mm needle for that sweater, and I'm really enjoying it. So if you are looking for a sweater project, highly recommend that one. At least so far it's gone really well. The second project I have on the needles is an ongoing project and will probably be ongoing for years. I am making a beekeeper's quilt. It's designed by Tiny Owl Knits, and I finished 2 more hexapuffs this week, or hexagons, or whatever you want to call them. That quilt, when it's finished, will look sort of like this. But a lot more hexapuffs, and they'll all be tied together. So these are the 2 puffs that I finished this week. I did this one the day after the Carolina Hurricanes lost to the Boston Bruins. Now the Bruins are my second favorite NHL team, so if the Hurricanes have to lose to another team, doesn't sting so much when it's the Bruins. So did this in Bruins colors, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in my finished objects as well. So there's one, and then I finished this one as well, and I haven't woven the ends in yet, which is a very simple thing. I should have just done it real quick before I did the podcast, but there's the other one. And I'm stuffing these with wool as well, so this is going to be a super warm blanket. And I'm starting to think maybe I don't want to do a full-size blanket because of the problem. It's going to be a problem washing this when it's done. I'm thinking my husband is a lot warmer natured than I am, and he gets hot at night whereas I get cold. So I'm thinking about making like a half-sized or a twin-sized blanket with the hexapuffs instead, so that I can just put it on my side of the bed. It'll make it a lot easier to wash too, and be able to hang dry. So that's just what I'm thinking now, but you know, I'll just keep knitting these little hexapuffs until I think I have enough, and you know, I can add more later even, so that's kind of a good thing. I'm using all kinds of fingering weight scraps for that, and US size 4 3.5mm needle. So there is that one. The third project that I have on my needles, it's been on the bench for a while with the Beekeeper's Quilt, is the Knit Sampler Afghan by Coats & Clark. I don't have a picture to show you, but if you look on my Ravelry project page, of course it links to the pattern. It's a sampler Afghan where you knit different squares and then sew them, not sew them, but you seam them all together. And I'm on the third square now. Since it's February, I'm doing this as a knit along with Apple Blossom SF, Sarah. She hosts the Apple Blossom and You podcast. So we do 2 squares each month for her knit along, her blanket knit along. So this is the third Afghan square in progress. And I'm really enjoying this project a lot. Surprisingly, I love the colors of yarn that I picked out. This is Red Heart Soft. This is the navy color that I have in my hands here, and then the other colors I chose are also different jewel tones, so it's really nice. US size 8 or 5mm needles for this one. And I'm having to pay a little bit extra attention to this. So I actually knitted on this yesterday while I watched the Penguins Capitals game, because I didn't feel like I had to really pay attention to that one like I do when I watch the Hurricanes. But yeah, this is good for podcast knitting maybe, or it's not super focused, but it's just focused enough that I can't keep my eyes off of it the whole time. So there's that. That is all of the developing play that I have. I have done some Spinorama this week. I'm excited. I'm so excited because I went ahead and spun 2 more ounces of the Knit Picks Will of the Andes Roving in the Merlot colorway. I just spun the 2 ounces of singles. I've got 1 more ounce of singles to spin, and then I need to ply those 3 ounces with their other plies. So I've got 2 plies ready for each of those ounces I spun, so that it'll be a 3-ply yarn. I hope that made sense. But here are my 2 ounces of the Wool of the Andes Roving. Not too exciting to look at as usual, but hopefully next week I will be showing you 3 skeins of finished plied yarn, and that will be the end of that spinning project. I may even get to wash and whack those, all of the skeins, which I think will be 10 or 11 skeins of yarn. So that will be fun to try and find places to hang. And I'll be able to show you all of that, and I will have enough yarn to knit a hand-spun sweater. Super excited about that. I'll have to do some swatches and then decide what gauge I'm getting, and then decide what sweater I'm going to knit from there. So that's it for Spinorama. Have a couple of She Shoots, She Scores this week too, which is good. I love finishing projects. I think I'm both a process and a product knitter, but I really enjoy the process, and I really enjoy the finished project as well. So last week I showed you my hockey knitting was a headband that I had started. It's just my own design. I cast on, I don't remember how many stitches, but I made it as wide as I thought it needed to be, and just knit garter stitch until it was as long as it needed to be. I just kept fitting it around my head. And I used the Lorna's Laces Sport Mate in the Desert Flower colorway, size 3 US or 3.25mm needles. This is what it looks like off of my head, and I guess I might as well put it on for you. It's not a Holding the Sticks podcast unless I give myself hat head while I'm podcasting, is it? So, there it is. I think it turned out kind of cool. I like how it flashed and pooled in there. And this is a headband that I will use for running when it's not cold enough for a full hat, but not warm enough to go bareheaded. So there is that. And the last project that I have is another Brainwaves beanie. This was designed by Liz McQueen, and used an eye hook. I can't remember the millimeters on that, but it's on my project page. And the story behind this hat is that Zilla Latte on Ravelry challenged me to a friendly wager last week when the Hurricanes played the Boston Bruins. She said that if the Hurricanes won, she would knit a red and black and white hat for charity, and if the Bruins won, I would have to knit a hat in black and gold Bruins colors for charity. So I lost the friendly wager, so I crocheted a hat And I'll just put it on for you. Might as well. Since my hair is already messed up. This one came out a little bit bigger than the other one. I kind of like how it turned out. I actually really love this pattern. If you're looking for a crochet project to work on that's pretty quick but fun and cool looking when it's finished, highly recommend this pattern. You can do all kinds of color combinations with this. I've seen it in sports team colors like this, and then if you watched last week's podcast, I think it was last week that I finished the other one, I just used scraps of yarn all different colors and used the same color for the small stripes. And that looked pretty cool too. So I absolutely love this pattern. I'm sure I will knit or crochet it many more times. It's just a lot of fun. So I made this. The black is just Red Heart Super Saver, and the yellow I had to go out to purchase at my local yarn store. And it's not quite as bright of a yellow as I would prefer, but it works. It is Plymouth Encore in color 0215. So both are machine washable. The Plymouth Encore is like a wool acrylic blend. So give it a little warmth there, and I will probably donate this to the local shelter. And actually this will make somebody very happy because these colors are also the sports team colors of the local university. So there you go. That is it for In the Zone. So let's get into the first intermission. The first intermission is Rec League, where I'm going to talk about our knit-alongs, or craft-alongs, or as I am calling this particular one, a yarn-along. I am hosting a Valentine's-themed yarn-along on the Ravelry group, and you have until February 28th to get your entries in. Any Valentine-themed project or project that you can somehow connect to Valentine's Day, you are welcome to get creative with this. Can be counted toward the prize, and the prize will be 6 stitch markers. There's a picture on the thread of those. They are rose quartz with iridescent seed beads and silver findings. These are not sterling silver findings, they're just silver in color. I want everybody to know what they're getting. So one person will win those, and I believe that's all of the details. You can knit, spin, crochet, weave, any kind of fiber arts that you want to do for this. So we already have a couple of people involved and knitting along. I believe both of them are knitting along. One of them may be crocheting along. I can't remember now. But anyway, I would love to see your entries in there, and with that, we'll get into the second period. Alright, are you ready to spend some time in the training room with me? It's been a pretty good week for me. I did miss another day. You know, I like to work out 6 days a week for fitness, but I wasn't feeling well one day this week, so I only worked out 5 days, but I still managed to do 10 miles this week. So that is my goal. That's where I want to be, is 10 miles per week at least. So that's actually the first week that I have reached that 10-mile goal, at least since winter hit. So I'm very pleased with that. I spent some time on the stationary bike. I did a 1.5-mile walk in 6 inches of snow with my dog yesterday and my husband. That was a good workout. Probably should have counted for 5 miles or so, because wearing those heavy boots and trudging through the snow. But it was a lot of fun, way more fun than that stationary bike. And I also did the Leslie Sansone Walk Away the Pounds DVD a couple of times. So good week for fitness for me. I hope that your fitness goals are going along nicely as well. Feel free to share those with me in the Ravelry group. Love to hear what y'all are up to, because it gives me ideas on ways to spice up my own fitness time. So that's really good that I managed 10 miles on a week that was as snowy as this week has been. So feeling good about that. For self-care this week, I wanted to talk a little bit about Epsom salt baths. Now, most of you are probably familiar with Epsom salts. They sell them at can't speak again. They sell them at drugstores and places like Walmart in bags, and they are good for muscle aches and pains. So this is a little treat that I like to give myself. When things are very stressful, I do this daily. What you do is you take 2 cups of Epsom salts, and I add 1 cup of apple cider vinegar. The vinegar was a little trick given to me by my Kung Fu master back when I was very active in the martial arts, and he said that it helped the magnesium in the Epsom salts to permeate into your muscles better. So whether or not that's true, I don't know. I do know that I feel much better after an Epsom salt bath than I did before. So you want to put those ingredients into a standard size bathtub. If you have a larger tub, you'll want to increase the Epsom salts a bit. And do the apple cider vinegar to, I'd start with about half a cup and see how that works. And then if you need more, maybe up it to a cup. But you put it all in a standard size tub with water as hot as you can stand it, but do not burn yourself. You want it hot. You need to be able to sit in the tub for 15 minutes or so. You don't want to be in the tub for longer than 20 minutes, and you want to make sure that you stay hydrated because you'll get a little dehydrated in a hot bath like that. So it will help refresh you. I've heard the vinegar is super good for your skin and will help soften your skin. And the salts, the Epsom salts, will help your muscles. Magnesium is one of the minerals that your body needs for good muscle health. So that's something that I always used to do, especially when I was doing the martial arts training. When I would be bruised and battered, I'd come home and do the Epsom salt baths. And it also is said to help you detox, help get toxins out of the body, and it helps you sleep. So as someone who sometimes suffers with insomnia, that can be a real lifesaver for me. So I just thought I would share that little trick for you. If you have any health conditions, you want to talk to your doctor before you do these baths. I know high blood pressure is one of the contraindications for these baths. But talk to your doctor. I have high blood pressure, so I don't partake in the baths as often as I once did. But my doctor told me it was fine to do it on occasion. So I hope that is a nice little tip for you and that you enjoy your hot Epsom salt baths. You can also get scented bath salts too. I would leave the vinegar out if you're going to use the scented ones, otherwise it will smell really funny. And if you do use the vinegar, you do come out smelling kind of like a salad when you're done. So if you're sensitive to that, you may want to just skip the vinegar. You'll still get benefits just from the Epsom salts. That is it for the training room. Let's get into the second intermission, shall we? Second intermission is around the league, and I have not decided on a podcast to talk to you guys about this week. So I just thought I would tell you what the second intermission would be, which is that I will talk to you about something I've been watching, listening to, or maybe reading too. Some kind of media that I've been enjoying. That is what I will focus on in the second intermission. So I really enjoy a lot of podcasts, and some of them are lesser known ones that I would like to share and get the word out. Others are ones that you all have probably already heard of, but it's fun to share those as well. So, alright, time to get into the third period. Time to drop the puck for the third period and a little bit of hockey talk. The Hurricanes are playing the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight, so I am wearing Hurricanes gear today. This is my favorite. Well, I can't say it's my favorite because every bit of hockey clothing that I own is my favorite. This is one of my favorite shirts. This is my Hurricane shirt. And I purchased this last year when I spent a week with Mom in Raleigh. It was right around Christmas, and we went to several Hurricanes practices and a game and several yarn shops. We had a great time. Need to do that again soon. It was so much fun. But anyway, I bought this shirt at the Eye, which is the merchandise place at the PNC Arena where the Hurricanes play. And love this shirt. I missed wearing it during the lockout. So hope the Canes do well tonight. Go Canes! Beat the Maple Leafs! Woo! So it's been a rough week for me as a fan. Early in the week, Zach Boychuk, who is the Checkers' leading scorer, was placed on waivers. Now what that means is Zach was called up to the Hurricanes for training camp. And because Zach has a certain amount of seniority in his play and has been with the Hurricanes system for a while, or the organization for a while, in order for them to send him back down to play for their minor league team in Charlotte, they have to do what's called placing him on waivers. That means that any NHL team can claim him and have him play for their team at the NHL level. And the Hurricanes can't do anything about it. They just have to let him go. So apparently Zach Boychuk played one game with the Hurricanes. I believe it was the season opener against the Florida Panthers. And he didn't play a terrible game, but he didn't really stand out either. And ever since that game, which we lost, the Hurricanes lost, ever since that game they have basically sat Zach Boychuk in the press box, which just means that he's not playing. He's practicing with the team, but he's not playing with the team. He's been watching the games from the press box, so he wasn't even sitting on the bench. You can only do that for so long, and the Hurricanes couldn't just keep putting him in the press box. They had to let him go play somewhere, so they put him on waivers, hoping that he would clear and wind up playing for the Checkers again. But he was claimed off waivers by the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I remember I was at work when I found out. Of course, I get most of my hockey news on Twitter, and I looked at my phone at the noon deadline thinking, oh, I hope he cleared, and I saw that he had been picked up by the Penguins, and I said, no! And I was really glad there was nobody in the break room to hear me cry. I didn't really cry, but you know what I mean. Like I said, Zach was, after sitting on the bench with the Hurricanes for 3 weeks, Zach was still the Checkers' leading scorer. He was a huge part of the Checkers' offense. He's an excellent hockey player. And to be honest, I'm so happy for him that he was picked up by another NHL team. But we are going to miss him so much in Charlotte. And I hoped that he would be a permanent part of the Hurricanes, but he just wasn't fitting in well. I don't claim to know why that is. The coaching staff with the Hurricanes knows that way better than me. Obviously, I'm not a coach or a general manager or anything, but so sad to see him go. So excited for him that he has this opportunity to play on Evgeny Malkin's line. Wish him all the best of luck, and I hope he really does well, as long as he's not playing against the Hurricanes. I don't want him scoring any goals if he's playing against us. But hopefully he will stick with the Penguins, as much as I'd like him back in Charlotte for his sake. He looked pretty good when I watched the Penguins play on Sunday. He had a couple of really close, he almost scored a couple goals, and he looked good, passing the puck, moving the puck well. So good for Zach. The other hard part of this past week was the other Zach, who I've talked about many times before on this podcast. Just a couple of days ago, the Hurricanes sent Zach Dalpe back down to the minor league team, so he's back with the Charlotte Checkers now. They did not have to put him on waivers because he's not as far along in the seniority. He hasn't been with the organization as long or played as many NHL games. I'll eventually talk about the ins and outs of waivers. It's a very complicated part of hockey, so it's not something I'll get into anytime soon probably, but it's something I would like to know more about. I just know the very general basics of how waivers work, but apparently it's pretty complicated stuff. But I am super sad for Zach Dalpe, who was looking really good with the Hurricanes for the most part. He had a couple of games where he wasn't like shining star or whatever, but I still thought he was a good player. They've called up, oh, I can't, the name has just escaped me. They called up somebody else to give him a shot, and hopefully that'll go well for him. But I really hope Zach Dalby gets the call again soon and will stick. So, anyway, I blabbered on about that way longer than I thought I would. Of course, it's hockey. I blabber about hockey non-stop if people let me, so now you know that about me. Got my tea today. Okay, Hockey 101. I have just one really brief hockey basic to impart to you today, left over kind of from last week when I talked about the structure of the game. This doesn't have to do with the timing of the game or anything, but I thought it would be good to actually tell you that hockey is played in shifts. And I didn't even think to mention this before because it's just such an integral part of the game that I don't even think about it anymore. What I mean by played in shifts is that the only player on the team that stays on the ice for the entire game is the goalie. The other guys, the other 5 guys, the 3 forwards and the 2 defensemen, trade out during the game. In fact, I'm hearing from our commentators for the Hurricanes that our coach, the Hurricanes coach, Kirk Muller, prefers that the skaters are only on the ice for about 30 seconds at a time. That's the perfect shift. They're usually on there between 30 seconds and a minute. And then what will happen is that the guys that were on the ice will come to the bench and other guys will go out on the ice to replace them. So that's what it means that they play in shifts. The defensemen also do that as well. They switch out. So this is more for them as athletes, it's more of a sprint instead of a marathon. So they'll go out there and play for 30 seconds to a minute, go sit on the bench for a couple minutes, get out there and play for another 30 seconds to a minute. It's like watching a ballet or something. If you don't know what's going on, if you just kind of watch the bench and the guys get on the bench and the guys come off the bench and you're thinking, how in the world do they know when it's their turn to go out? But I actually asked one of the guys on Twitter one time how they know when it's time to go out, and he told me that the coach actually will tap them on the shoulder and tell them. So I thought that was pretty cool to know. So what I really wanted to talk about today in Hockey 101 is stoppages of play. That's when the whistle blows and the play stops. And I promised you last week I would get into this, so we're finally going to do it. There are 4 reasons that play can stop in a hockey game. First reason would be if a penalty is called. We'll talk more about those in the future. There are tons of penalties that can be called. I'll break those down probably 3 or 5 at a time, depending on how complicated the penalty is in future episodes. So penalty can be called, and that will stop play. If a player is injured, if it's a severe injury, they'll stop play right away. If it's not a severe injury, then they will wait until the injured player's team has possession of the puck to stop play. That just keeps guys from acting like they're hurt in order to stop a play by the opposing team. The third reason that play can be stopped is for something that's called icing. It can also be called icing the puck. You'll hear the commentators call it that all the time, icing or icing the puck. And I will bring in my little hockey rink paper to help illustrate what icing is. Icing is when a player shoots, bats, or deflects the puck from their side of the rink. So let's say that the player we're talking about plays for the team that has a goalie in this net. So this is that player's defensive zone. This is that player's offensive zone, if you remember, or attacking zone. And what happens if a player shoots, bats, or deflects a puck from their side of the red line, that's that center line here, over the other team's goal line, if you remember that is the line right here, this little line here. then that is icing. And icing is complete when the defending team touches the puck. So what you'll see is if somebody ices the puck and shoots it from here all the way down to here, the defending team and the attacking team will both chase that puck down. If the defending player touches the puck first, then it's icing and play will stop. And the face-off will happen in the back here in the defending zone. So that's a benefit to the defending team. It's a benefit to this team. Who, this team iced the puck, so this team gets a little bit of an advantage for the next face-off. If the attacking player touches the puck first, then icing is not called and play will continue. So, it's a little bit of a confusing thing, but what they didn't want to happen is for these long passes to happen down the ice, and because it slows the game down, and so they decided to make that rule to penalize when that happens. So that is icing. If you have questions, let me know and I will try to explain it a little bit clearer. But I think that was pretty clear. The other reason, the last reason that play can be stopped in a hockey game is called offside. If you watch soccer, a hockey offside is similar to a soccer offside. The rule is that a player cannot enter the attacking zone ahead of the puck. So, again, our player's goalie is on this side, so this is their defending zone. So, the player for this team can't cross this blue line here and enter the attacking zone ahead of the puck. So that includes the guy with the puck, or it includes the guys on his team. So this is judged by where the location of their skate, not their stick. So if the stick crosses the line before the puck, that's okay. But if the skate does, that's not okay. If a player is in their attacking zone here, when an opponent passes the puck into this zone, then they call that a delayed offsides, and the ref will put his hand up like this. If that attacking player can get out of the zone before he touches the puck, then it's waved off and it's not called. But if that doesn't happen, then the whistle blows and play stops. And the face-off is held in a position that is to the advantage of the defending team. So, that is what offsides is. Offside or offsides. I've heard it said both ways. I think the proper term is offside without the S on the end. So, that is it for Hockey 101. I hope that I made some kind of sense there. Those are kind of complicated things to put into words. So, hopefully my little chart helped out. That is it for the third period. Let's get into the post-game chatter. Alright, well, you've already seen my teacup since I was drinking it during the hockey talk. And by the way, it was Tim Wallace who was called up in place of Zach Dalpe. I wanted to say Tim Brent, and I knew that wasn't right because Tim Brent has never left the Hurricanes. He's just been there. Kind of funny now. I just realized we have 3 Tims with the Hurricanes. We've got Tim Wallace, Tim Brent, and Tim Gleason. So last year we had 3 or 4 Justins, and now we've got 3 Tims. So that's just funny. Anyway, here's my teacup today. This is one of my very, very favorites. This might be my, well, it's not my very favorite, maybe my second favorite. It's a Phoenix, and it comes with a little lid to help keep your tea warm. It goes on there. And actually it came with a little plate and a little ceramic tea infuser as well. I'm not a huge fan of those ceramic tea infusers, even when you use the larger green teas, larger leafed green teas, they still seem to get through the holes and you wind up with leaves in your tea, which isn't the most horrible thing ever, but I prefer not to have leaves in my tea if I can help it. Today I am drinking strawberry mango. It's a Twinings infusion. Not sure how readily available it is in the United States. It's one of the Christmas teas that my husband picked up for me at the International Market in Cincinnati, Jungle Gyms. So that's what's in my teacup today. And we have had perfect weather for drinking tea. It's been very snowy the last several days. Although at the very beginning of the week, if you follow me on Plurk or Twitter, you probably saw me tweeting about the floods that were going on. I have lived in this area for 16 or 17 years, and it's the worst flooding in some areas that I've ever seen. Back in '04, Hurricane Ivan came through, and the flooding was really bad at my house. Then we lost part of our driveway washed out, and the flooding lasted a lot longer during Ivan. But this flooding mostly, or affected the town of Boone more. The main intersection in Boone was, the water was up over the tires of the cars going through it. I've never, ever, ever seen that. One of my friends that I work with had just moved into her brand new apartment. It's her first apartment on her own. That day she moved in and was evacuated that night. I felt so bad for her. She's fine. Her apartment is fine. The water didn't come up to her building at all. But it was crazy. I have never seen anything like it. So I'm glad that the waters have receded and recovery has begun. I'm not sure the dollar amount of damage that was done, but it was pretty bad. The last several days, though, we have had beautiful, lovely snow, lots of pictures in the beginning, and there'll be more at the end probably. I took a ton of pictures. I took a walk with my husband and our dog Kelly in the snow. She loves the snow. She's a Husky German Shepherd mix. We got her from the Humane Society years ago, but she loves the snow. That husky in her just comes out full force, and there's a picture of her. I'm going to put it in right here. Of she's just sticking her head in a snowbank, and she kept doing that. She kept just sticking her head in a snowbank, and she just loves it. Absolutely loves it. She was in hog heaven yesterday. So I have really enjoyed it myself. I was born in Indiana, spent several years in Wisconsin, and I love the snow. I wish I didn't have to get out and drive on it, but I will, as long as it's not ice like it was a couple of weeks ago. Which we're supposed to get a little bit more snow tomorrow and the next day, so I'll have to be driving in it a little bit. No biggie. It's just the way it goes. But yay for snow. I have some video too. I'm not sure where I'm going to put all these pictures and videos in, but I know I'll have to put them in somewhere because it's just a winter wonderland here. And that's also why I'm having some trouble with the lighting. Just the glare off the snow coming through the windows in my craft room is making for some challenging lighting. So last night I was sitting and doing my knitting and watching some podcasts, and I plugged my iPhone in to charge through my computer, and this little message box came up. I have an iPhone 4S, and it said that there is a new update available for the operating system, and would I like to upgrade, to go ahead and get that upgraded. I'm like, oh, I might as well since I'm just sitting here. So I pressed the yes button, and several minutes later another box popped up and said that the upgrade installation had failed, and I would have to what do they call it? Reset my phone to factory settings. Well, when you reset your phone to factory settings, that means you lose everything. All of your data, messages, photos, games. So I tried not to panic, and I actually did really well at not panicking. I was upset, and I plurked that this just seals the fact that I'll never buy another Apple product again, but that's a whole nother story, and for a different time, perhaps. But anyway, so I had to reset my phone completely to where the phone came up as if I had just taken it out of the box. I had to tell it what country I was in, what language I speak, and all of that sort of thing. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. Fortunately, I backed most everything up, so I hadn't lost anything like super important, but there are a few games that I play on my phone, and all of that data was what I was a little bit worried about because it takes months to build up. Like Tapfish, the game that I play, it takes months to build up your aquariums and everything, and I don't like to spend money on these apps. I'll spend a little bit just to support the app, but typically I take the slow route, so it had taken me months and months and months to build up all of my aquariums and get it to the point where I bought food bricks so I didn't have to go in every day and feed my fish, to make it a little easier on myself. And to make a long story short, the iPhone did allow me to restore the phone from iTunes, so I got all of my pictures, all of my data back, and most of my apps. I don't know how it picked which apps to restore and which ones not to, but Tapfish was one of the ones that did not restore, and when I reinstalled it, it did not pick up my game where it left off, so I lost all of my fish. I probably started playing Tapfish back in the summer. It was probably back in early fall, late summer. I lost all of that stuff, so I didn't even bother reinstalling it. I'm not at a point where I want to spend a lot of time with those apps. And in order to get my fish tanks to where they were, it would require me babysitting that app all the time and like playing it a lot. I don't want to do that. So in the end, it turned out pretty well. That I didn't lose. My heyday farm is still good. And like I said, you know, games are not the most important thing ever, and it could have been so much worse, but really, that's not cool. It's really not cool. It's just, you know, and I was worried about losing my contacts because I've done that. I've actually lost all of my contacts before, even though I have them backed up with Verizon. I lost all of my contacts at one point and they wouldn't come back for whatever reason. So that was a nightmare. That didn't happen this time, thankfully. Anyway, that was just my frustration that happened last night. Still fresh in my mind, so I'm all ranty about it. Other than that, it's been a very pleasant week, like I said. Enjoying the snow, and I made some homemade chicken and dumplings last night. It was super good. Just been perusing Ravelry and looking at projects. I'm getting excited to cast on another pair of socks. And I would like to try DPNs. I learned on DPNs and switched to Magic Loop. And lately, the loop on my Magic Loop has been driving me crazy, so I want to try DPNs and see how I like those again. So I hope that everybody else's week has been good and that it continues to be good. And I look forward to hearing from you on the Ravelry board and on Plurk and Twitter and email if you would like. But other than that, until next time, may all of your knitting, crocheting, weaving, and spinning projects and your favorite hockey teams stay out of the penalty box. Bye-bye.